So I want to go to Illustrator, start up a new file. Just call it brushes, vector brushes. I'm just going to go leave it on CMYK, go create. And we're just going to go back to our desktop and we're just going to drag this in. So we've got our file here, you can see. And what we're going to do now is we're going to image trace them in. So we're going to select our image and we're going to go to image trace at the top. I want to click that. And you'll see it start to edit the images. But see how it starts to lose some of the details. So we've got to go in here and start editing out the image trace. So get up your image trace box. You can go to window and go to image trace there. Or if you click on the image, you can see there's this little box at the top left corner. You can select that and it's going to bring up this box. So what we can actually do, I'm just going to turn off the preview so it doesn't lag. Click off preview and you can see how many anchors there are. You don't want to have too many anchors because it might lag Illustrator when you're using the brushes, so keep that in mind. We're just going to turn off snap to curves, turn that off, ignore white. And we're going to play with the threshold a little bit. I might bump that down a little bit. And paths, I usually put that up. And usually the noise is better when it's down to keep more of that detail. So we'll use that and we'll press preview and just let it do its thing. So you can see now it's starting to get that detail out and we can just play around with these settings. You can see if I bring the noise all the way down, you'll get more of the fine dots in there. Or if you drag it up, it makes it more cleaner. So if you want more of the dust particles, you bring the noise down. But we don't want to have too much because remember the anchor points. And it's a matter of just playing around with it. If you bring the threshold down, you can see it will get less, but I might bring it actually up. Just to make sure we can actually use these brushes fully. So just play around till you think you have something nice. You know, try and keep it full, but keeping the detail as well. And you don't want it to make it too, you know, shapy because then it won't look like a natural brush. But these brushes are looking okay. These two might be a bit bad to use, but we can just delete them. So that's looking alright. So what we're going to do, just going to go to the top left hand corner and press expand. So now we've expanded these and we've got all the brushes. And what we're going to do, we're just going to ungroup these, select them all, press Control Shift G. And what we're going to do, we're just going to select the paths we want and just press Control G. And we're going to group them together. So you can see we're grouping that one. Group. And we're just going through and grouping all the brushes by themselves. That's why it's good when you're actually sketching it out on the paper. Space them out correctly so it makes this process a lot faster. So now you can see we've got all our separated brushes, which we can use, and just clean it up. So parts you don't want, you can just delete. Another cool trick as well, if you go to File, you go to Object, Path, you can go Clean Up. What that's going to do, it's going to get rid of, you know, just anchor points we don't need or any stray paths that we're not using. Oh, no cleanup was necessary, but, you know, it's good to do that just in case you want to get some rid of these specks and stuff. Just keep them all clean. So you can do that with all the brushes, go through, just delete the parts you don't want. You see you got stray points out. That's what we got. So I'm going to pick a few to use. Looks like we'll use some of these ones. I like this one actually. So what we're going to do now is we're going to drag our brush we want. So it makes a difference if you drag it really big or really small. Try not to make it too big because then it will, when you save it as a brush, it will go all weird. So keep it at a decent small size. And then what we're going to do, we're going to make a guide. So press P for the pen tool and then click and then hold shift and click again. And we're just going to select our path that we have here. And we're going to press Control 5. So that makes a guide. And we're just going to use this and straighten it up a bit because you can see how the brush is wonky. We want to try and make it straight as possible because it's going to be an art brush. So what I usually do is I select it, I go to Object, Envelope Distort, and Make with Mesh. Click that, and you'll get some options here. What we can do now is if we go Preview, we can see that we can make a mesh. You got your rows and your columns. So try and just adjust it, add more if you feel like if it's a longer brush or if it's got more, detail. So we've got more room to edit it. I'm going to actually add more columns and less. We don't really need that many rows. So I'm going to go 3 columns, 3 rows, press OK. And now we can actually start editing it. So you can actually just use the direct selection tool by pressing A, or you go in the left hand corner and select that. And I'm just going to select the points I want and just press down. And you can actually move the handles as well. If I zoom in there, you can move the handles if you want. So I was just playing around, try and get as straight as possible. So, make sure it's high quality and it's not just you dumping it in there. So we're just going through there. Okay, sweet. So you can see we've straightened it out. So that's pretty awesome. So what we can do now, we're going to go to Window, go to Brushes. I'm going to bring this out. So we've got our brush panel. So this is our normal brush panel. You see you got your standard brushes and you've got some options here. If you go click on the drop down menu, you can go New Brush, or we can go down here and click the New Document button. And you can see we get some options. We can make a Calligraphy Brush, Bristle Brush, or Pattern Brush. But the cool thing is with this, you can just, because it's going to be an art brush, we can drag it in and you can see how you get the other options. So we got art brush and scatter brush there. So we want to make an art brush, click that, press OK. And we get some options here. If you have a Wacom tablet plugged in, or you have an Intuos or pen, whatever you have, you can actually change these options here with pressure, stylus wheel, and you can see you got different options. Because I don't have that plugged in, it's just going to be fixed. But you can always go back and change the brush later. So you can go width and you can actually edit these settings. Just leave it on 100. And you got a few scale options. You can go scale proportionally, fit to stroke length, or stretch between the guides. I usually leave it on stretch to fit the stroke length. And then you can pick the direction on how you want to do it when you're adding it to strokes. This is important here. So we've got colorization. If you go to the method, you can get some options. You got tints and shades, and hue shift. I usually pick hue shift. If you don't understand what these do, you can click on this little light bulb and you'll get some help here. And the good thing about using hue shift is that you can actually change the color of the stroke. If you don't do this, then it's only going to work. It's not really going to work, and it's only going to use the color that it's saved in, which is black. And it will only tint when its colors on below it. So you want to make sure it's on hue shift. So leave it on that. And you can also change the color here as well, or you can select the color, but you can, use it later on. You can also flip it along as well, and you got some overlap options, but that's okay. Just press OK now. And you can see now we have our brush saved. I'm just going to select these brushes here and just delete those. So you can see. So now I've got this brush here, and what I can do, start making some shapes. And I can actually start using that. Now, because I've changed the tints, you can see it's going to change the colors with that. And you can even use the pen tool as well. And you can create all kinds of paths with the brushes. If I apply that, you can see. So art brush is a lot of fun. You can create some cool effects. What we're going to do now is I'm going to show you how to create a scatter brush. So we've created an art brush, and now we can create a scatter brush. I'm just going to take this out, and I'm going to ungroup it. And a scatter brush allows you, create a brush that's more, organic, that spreads out more, which is pretty sweet. So maybe we just want to have like a section. Maybe we just want like this. So what we're going to do, we're going to drag this in. And we want to go click scatter brush. So Scatter Brush has the same thing. You got Colorization, so just leave it on tints for now. And as again, we've got 4 options. We've got size, spacing, scatter, and rotation. And then you can rotate to the page or the path. I'm just gonna leave it on page. It doesn't make that much of a difference. But you can see if you click on here, you can go random, or you can click pressure if you've got the Wacom tablet plugged in as well. But I'm just gonna choose random for all of these, and just play around with these settings. So you've got minimum and you've got maximum. So what you're doing, you can just play around with it, but we can't see anything. So we're just gonna press OK for now. So now I've got a scatter brush. You can see it's at the top here. So now if I just make a path, I'm just gonna make a circle and get rid of the fill. And now if I click the scatter brush, you can see what it's doing. So it's made a scatter, but we want to edit it. So I'm going to double click on the scatter brush, and we're just going to edit these settings. And you can see with the preview on, you can see the changes you make. So make sure it's on, and you can see the changes you're making. So it works good with, you know, anything really. Try and get some more circular or more like organic type of effect, like a brush, which will work well. But you can see I'm just playing around with it. They look like DNA strips right now. And yeah, so you can just play around and then press OK. And then what you want to do is you want to apply it to the stroke. So it's asking if you want to apply it. You just apply it. So now this scatter brush is pretty cool. We can use the brush. You can use the path pen tool as well to use it. And it's going to create a cool scatter effect. So it's good for like backgrounds or textures, or, you know, if you want to get really fine details and you want to create a cool effect. Instead of copying and pasting, what you can do is just make a scatter brush, and that's what it allows you to do. So scatter brush is a lot of fun, and that's what we can do now. So we've got another few options as well. We've got a bristle brush and a calligraphy brush and a pattern brush. I don't really use calligraphic and bristle brush that much. This is mainly good for like if you're doing illustration or like Copic type work or character design, that type of stuff. And bristle brush is similar to like a real world brushes, which is pretty cool, but I don't use that type in Illustrator, but you can play around with those. Another one is cool is the pattern brush. So what I'm going to show you how to do is create a pattern. So I'm just going to do some really simple shapes. Just using the shape tools. So you can go on the left hand. If you right click, you can use the shape tools, any of them. And I'm just dragging it out. And to get rid on the star, you can see how I'm doing this. You can press up and down and it gets rid of the points, makes it less. So I'm just going to create something really simple. I'm just going to align those together. And then I'm just going to copy it over. And then group these. So now we've got this pattern here. And what we're going to do is just going to drag it in here and go to pattern brush. So a pattern brush is easier because it allows you to add a certain pattern or style you want and add it to any path. So instead of copying, pasting, and taking longer, you can actually just make a pattern brush, which is really awesome. And then you can see same sort of options. You can change the scale here. You can actually add spacing here as well, and you can see it's changing there. Just gonna leave that 100%. And you can see here you've got these pictograms, but you can see like the corner and the lines. You can actually change these. You got 4 options. Just press the drop down menu, and you can go order between, order sliced, order overlap, and you can see the corners are changing there. I don't know if you can see it, but that's what it allows you to do. You can also flip it. You can stretch the fit, add space or approximate path. I'm just gonna leave it stretch, and then change it like that to tints. Just press OK. So now if I make a path, we've just made it. And the cool thing about brushes is that you can always change the size. So if I go to stroke, I can up the stroke, but it's going to go wild. Or you can go like 0.25, and you can see our pattern, how it's working there. So that's pretty awesome. It's good for like if you want to do like frames, or if you're doing a character or something like that. Just pretty sweet. And you can always just go in there, you know, add some spacing. Make sure the preview is on the bottom left so we can see it. So you can see, I think, some spacing here. and we can just create some weird stuff. So yeah, that's how you make a pattern brush, and a scatter brush, and an art brush. So yeah, that's how you make your 3 main brushes. There's a lot of effects you can do. You can even go here and you can even save the brush library. So maybe I want to save these brushes. So yeah, that's how you make your 3 main brushes. I'll show you how to make a calligraphy. So that's how you make your 3 main brushes. You can always experiment and create some really cool things. I'll quickly show you how to make the other 2 brushes, just so we have that knowledge. So with the calligraphy brush, you can just create something really simple. Or maybe I might grab something from over here, actually. Actually, I'm just gonna make a path and then make this. I'm gonna make it small. And we can probably use this. So, new brush. So you go to the drop down menu, go to new brush, go to calligraphy brush. Click that. And with this, it obviously works better with a tablet, but you can actually change it like this. Rotate it. You can rename it as well. You got the roundness, makes it more fatter or thinner. The angle, which you can click and move here as well, and the sizing. So you can see the sizing. It's great for character design. And then again, you got the same options here, which you can change if you have a tablet. So now you can see you got the brush up here. So what I can do is get the brush out. You can see the effects. You can see how it's different to the other ones, because it's really fat. Whoop. You can even use it on paths and then make it smaller. So that's how you make pretty much a calligraphy brush. I thought you could add like this type of thing to it, but it's better just to create like this. And then with the bristle brush, same sort of thing. You can choose different brushes, and it's very similar to Photoshop style. You can do the same thing in Photoshop with the brushes as well. So you got density, you got length, thickness. Press OK, and then you got the brush here. So we can paint. There you go. So we just create a fresh effect. You can use shapes, everything. So you can see creating vector brushes is very easy and it's very flexible. Best thing is to get real materials and create certain effects that you want for certain projects. But it's really awesome to use these. So what we're going to do now is just save the brush library. So click on the drop down menu, and we're going to save brush library. So you can click that, and if you go to just save it on the desktop or wherever you want, call it vector brushes, I can actually save that. And now next time I can go to the drop down menu, open brush library, other library, and if I go back to the desktop, I can actually load them in. So you can see, and you can see how it just loads them in just like that. So you can load it into any project really quickly, really fast, and you can just start using them. And that's why brushes are fun to make.